Is there really a secret world of investing for high net worth, wealthy individuals here in the United States? The answer is yes. In fact, this investing is so secretive that the government actually made it illegal for the poor and middle class to even participate. We're going to peel back the curtain on the secret world of accredited investors. My name is Matthew Copley, President and CEO of Copley Financial Group, and I want to help you maximize your income and minimize your taxes. Are there really investments that are only available to you if you are wealthy? The answer is yes. The Securities and Exchange Commission actually has an accreditation that you have to have a certain amount of income or net worth to even discuss or even talk about certain types of investments. How do you qualify for these? Well, you have to have a high enough income, and that income is $200,000 a year for each of the last 2 years if you're a single person, or $300,000 a year if you file married joint on your tax return. Now, income is one way to qualify. The second way to qualify is net worth. Now, you cannot use your primary residence, so you have to have at least $1 million in investments outside your primary residence to qualify as an accredited investor. Now, there is another level called a qualified purchaser. This is another level of investments that are only available to people that can qualify. This level is someone who has $5 million in investable assets outside of their primary residence. So if you don't qualify, if you don't have these kind of assets, you're not even going to hear about the other types of investments that are available to the wealthiest people here in the United States. Now, some people say it's a conspiracy theory. They're saying that those investments are only for the wealthy and not for anyone else. And the real answer is the Securities and Exchange Commission wants to make sure that only sophisticated investors that understand risk can go into these type of investments, because oftentimes these investments have a much higher potential return. They also have higher risk. They also have a lot of illiquidity. It might be some kind of an investment where it's a development of, say, an apartment building where you have to tie up your money for 3, 4, 5 years in order to get your money back. And so someone that doesn't have enough net worth, it may not be a suitable or appropriate investment for that person. So in the event that you do not have enough money to qualify as an accredited investor, you're not going to learn about any of these investments unless you go out and get a financial advisor license. That is one way that you can bypass the rules, is if you have a financial advisor license, you may qualify. Now, what are these accredited investments, and should I even be interested in learning about them? Now, why it's important that you learn about private investments and things that are only available to accredited investors or qualified purchasers is because these kind of investments are becoming more and more prevalent in our economy. In fact, it used to be about 60% of our economy was public markets, public companies, and about 40% was private. We used to have something called the Wilshire 5000. It was 5,000 companies. Well, today the Wilshire 5000 is actually the Wilshire 2800. So the public markets have been shrinking at the same time the private markets have been growing. So if we were in a point where 60% of the economy was public and 40% private, today it's absolutely flipped, and it's more like 60% private, 40% public. And so there's a lot more opportunity in the private markets than there has been in the past, creating a lot more investments and a potential for much higher returns. Now, what are these private companies? What are these private investments? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of private companies out there that you may have heard of. Companies like Cargill, companies like SpaceX, companies like Publix Supermarkets or Mars Candy or Fidelity Investments or Enterprise Rental Car. How about In-N-Out Burger or Chick-fil-A? All private companies. And so when you want to invest in private companies, you have to be an accredited investor. And there's a lot of opportunity in that space if you understand that the public markets are just for people that are non-accredited. For people that are accredited, they can invest in both. Now, what types of investments are potentially out there for an accredited investor? Well, I'll give you an example of some things that we are currently offering our current clients right now. One in particular is a real nice development. It's actually in Ohio. It's an apartment development, 800 apartment units. And this particular investment is very interesting. The developer on this actually acquired this property at a very, very low rate after the property itself went into foreclosure. It was actually a shopping mall that had gone bust. And so this developer is clearing out the entire shopping mall. And what they're doing is they're putting in 800 apartments along with a nice grocery store and a nice retail center. And it is currently under construction. In fact, the grocery store is already finished. It opened to record sales, and now the apartments are being constructed as well. This particular investment is about to sell out. It's just an example of one that is out there. They're raising $130 million for this project. They've already raised $113 million, so they have about $17 million left. But any investors that go into this, I can't even discuss this particular product or talk about it in any specifics with someone unless they're an accredited investor. And if they were an accredited investor, we could talk about the potential. This particular investment has a 15% return, and it's a 3 to 4 year hold as far as the term. So investors put their money in, they get a 15% annual return. It's actually paid out 10% annually during the term, and at the end they get all of their principal back along with the 5%. Now there's risk involved with this investment because it is a development. They're building a bunch of apartments. What if they start digging in the ground and they find a Native American burial site? That's a potential problem. So there's a lot of more risk associated with these kind of investments, but I would argue that a potential of a 15% return looks very, very attractive. And then you have to dive into the details. So for example, on this particular project, we look at the numbers and say, well, gee, the city is giving $50 million from TIF bonds to make the project go because they didn't want this shopping center to be sitting there that attracted homeless people, and they want this thing to be completely redone with new high-end apartments. And it's a great area of town between two really high-end areas, and the city wants this to be a nice area where people can live. And so this particular investment is available, but not to the general public. And so if you are accredited and you're interested in an investment like this, talk to your financial advisor. And it's more than just apartments. We have, for example, a lot of oil and gas investments. Oil and gas is so important right now because we have such big tax breaks available with the new bill that went through this year. In fact, on some of these investments, you can put in, say, $100,000 and take $80,000 off your taxes this year, the year that you put the money in. We have clients that are putting their money in it right now at the end of the year and getting a big tax break for the year. Again, this is an investment that is only available to accredited investors. Of course, I happen to really like natural gas right now because I think there's going to be a huge demand with the data centers and all the AI stuff going on. There's a huge need for energy, and over the next few years we're going to need a lot more energy, and I think that energy is going to come from natural gas power plants. So this is a great investment for people, but again, only for accredited investors. So if you happen to be accredited, reach out to your financial advisor, ask about these kind of investments. If you are not accredited, can you get a financial advisor's license to become accredited? Can you go out and speak out? There's been a lot of talk in Congress about offering some kind of a course where people would be able to go online and take a course and become an accredited investor. That's not available yet, but it's something that I think is something that is needed and something that for far too long has been kind of avoided. There's a lot of people in this country that I think could really benefit from having access to some of these investments, and it's something that you should be asking your financial advisor about. My name is Matthew Copley, and if you want to learn how we help our clients maximize their income and minimize their taxes, check out the rest of our videos or visit our website.